Hello, my name is Eric Schmieder, and I'm the Membership Marketing Manager for Textbook and Academic Authors Association. In this video, we're going to talk about how to use styles to build a table of contents and a document framework, specifically in Microsoft Word. As we prepare for a larger manuscript that would require a table of contents, such as a textbook, we want to start with an outline. We want to know first and foremost what we plan to write, and then we want to break that content into a detailed outline of headings and subheadings. So here I have an example of at least the first couple chapters in bullet point format of an outline from my latest textbook, Web Programming and Database, that's published with Sensia Publishing. So you can see that, I've identified chapter 1, and then on the right-hand side you see chapter 2 a little ways down. And otherwise, I've more or less just used bullet points and indentations to identify headings and subheadings within the structure of the chapters that I was laying out and the content that I wanted to produce for this textbook. So once we have that outline in place, which you very well likely have at the point that you start writing and really fleshing out your manuscript for a larger writing project, we can use some of the tools that are built into Microsoft Word to make our lives easier in terms of, 1, reviewing the information, 2, filling in the content for actually fleshing out the manuscript into a final form, and 3, producing some automated table of contents and making sure that nothing is missed within our overall process. So basically coming from our outline to a complete manuscript and then back to that outline that serves as a table of contents. So the steps in between require just a little bit of formatting, and that formatting really doesn't matter in terms of the end result, what our published form looks like, as much as it does from a structural identity. So in Microsoft Word, there is a section on the Home tab of the ribbon called Styles, and you may see it as a gallery where some of these items that you see pictured on the left of this slide, normal, no spacing, heading 1, heading 2, etc., shows. So if you expand that, you get basically this tiled gallery that I'm showing here on the slide. What you want to do, and what I have done and will illustrate in the next slide, is apply heading 1 as a style to your top level headings. So in my case, chapter 1 and its title, and chapter 2 and its title, and so forth. And then apply heading 2 to all of those second level subheadings. Now, if you're doing this within a chapter or a shorter manuscript, that would be your B heads. In the case of our chapter titles, this actually may be my A heads within the chapter, and then my heading 3 gets applied to the B heads, and so forth. But in your structure, you're going to continue to apply heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, heading 4, on up to 5 layers deep with heading 5, to that outline or that bulleted list. And what you will see is that the bullets go away, and certain styles, visual styles, are applied, which makes it a little harder actually here to read and see where the distinguishing factors are. But again, if you come back in, and I kept this compressed on the page for sake of being able to illustrate more, but you're going to press the Enter key after each one of those headings, and you're going to fill in content on the page for your narrative for your manuscript. But at this point, those styles are more than just a visual component. While they do provide some visual formatting that will ultimately be translated into whatever formats are applied to your final manuscript by the designer, here it's serving as a structural outline. So it's telling me that objectives is a second level heading under Chapter 1. And a brief history of web databases and programming is another second level heading underneath of Chapter 1. And that 3 decades of web design is a third level heading related to a brief history of web databases and programming, and so on and so forth within the construct of my chapter outline. So once I have those styles applied, which again was a matter of simply clicking the bullet point in my outline and clicking the style, and it formats that line, and doing so for each and every item in my outline, then I can use that structural outline, heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, to add an automatic table of contents. And again, Microsoft Word makes this very easy for us. We come to the References tab of the ribbon. The very first button is Table of Contents. And you can see that there are 4 style options for an automatic table of contents. So, place your insertion point at the very beginning of your document. Go to the References tab of the ribbon, Table of Contents, and select one of the options. So when I select the classic Table of Contents, the table of contents is added to the beginning. And you can see Chapter 1, and then with all of the page numbers and all of my leader lines and nicely formatted, my first 3 levels of headings. Now, as I mentioned, I have multiple levels beyond that, and if you go as far as 5 levels of headings deep, you're going to want to use that option that was shown of Custom Table of Contents to add additional heading areas. But this gives a nice foundation and a working table of contents that can be submitted with a book proposal that shows the thought, that outlines the overall structure, and then these page numbers can quickly be updated by simply right-clicking on the table of contents and choosing Update Page Numbers, or updating all content if you made typographical changes to any of those headings within your document. But starting to be covered up by the decorative elements of the slide, where you see an Introduction to HTML5 on the bottom left of that table of contents picture, that's actually Chapter 2. So everything that you see on the right-hand side of the screen is content areas within Chapter 2 as far as headings and subheadings go. And then again, once you have this in place, you go back to the areas where you define the headings, you press the Enter key after each one of those headings, and you type your manuscript. You fill in the blanks. You have a plan for how your content's going to be organized. You have converted that into a table of contents. You have your structural framework built from an outline simply by applying basic heading styles, and you're ready to fill in the blanks and complete your manuscript and move into the editing phase. So I hope this quick how-to has given you some basic fundamentals to using styles and automatic table of contents in Microsoft Word to quickly and easily format your manuscripts. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to me via email at eric.schmieder@taaonline.net.